Have you ever seen a creature so beautiful that it looks like it belongs in a fantasy movie, but so strange that touching it could be a terrible mistake? Floating on the surface of the ocean, glowing in shades of blue, silver, and white, this tiny animal looks like a miniature dragon made of glass and waves. It is called the Blue Dragon Sea Slug, and despite its magical appearance, it is not a harmless decoration of the sea. This small creature, known scientifically as Glaucus Atlanticus, is one of the most fascinating and misunderstood animals in the ocean. At first glance, it looks delicate, almost too fragile to survive in the wild. Its body is small, its blue arms spread out like wings, and its color makes it look like a living piece of ocean jewelry. But hidden behind that beauty is one of the strangest survival strategies in nature. The blue dragon can eat venomous creatures and turn their stinging weapons into its own defense. That means this tiny sea slug does not need a strong shell, sharp teeth, or a giant body to survive. Instead, it borrows danger from others. To understand why this animal is so incredible, we have to imagine the world it lives in. Unlike many sea slugs that crawl along rocks, reefs, or the ocean floor, the blue dragon lives near the surface of the open ocean. It floats upside down, carried by waves and currents, drifting through a world where it has very little control over where it goes. The ocean surface may look peaceful from above, but for a tiny creature, it is a dangerous place. Sunlight shines from above, predators may come from below, waves can push it toward beaches, and food is not always easy to find. Yet the blue dragon survives there with a body perfectly designed for that unusual lifestyle. Its bright blue underside faces upward, helping it blend with the color of the water and sky when viewed from above. Its silvery gray side faces downward, helping it blend with the light shining through the sea surface when viewed from below. This camouflage is called countershading, and it helps the blue dragon disappear in plain sight. But camouflage is only the first part of its survival story. The most shocking part is what it eats. The blue dragon feeds on venomous floating animals, including the Portuguese man-o'-war, a creature famous for its long tentacles packed with stinging cells. To most small ocean animals, the Portuguese man-o'-war is dangerous. Its tentacles contain microscopic stinging capsules called nematocysts, which can inject venom and help it capture prey. But the blue dragon does something almost unbelievable. It can feed on these venomous animals, and instead of being destroyed by their stinging cells, it stores some of those cells inside the finger-like structures on its own body, called serrata. In other words, the blue dragon steals the weapons of its prey. It takes something that was meant to hurt other creatures and turns it into a defense system for itself. This is why the blue dragon is so much more than just a beautiful sea slug. It is a thief of venom, a drifting survivor, and a tiny ocean dragon with borrowed weapons hidden in its body. Imagine a creature smaller than your hand, floating helplessly on the surface of the ocean. It cannot outrun predators. It cannot dive deep to escape. It cannot hide inside a heavy shell. But if something tries to eat it, that predator may receive a painful surprise. The very stinging cells stolen from its prey can become the blue dragon's protection. This strategy is called kleptocnity, and it is one of the most fascinating examples of survival in marine life. The blue dragon does not create the stinging cells itself. It takes them, it stores them, then it uses them when needed. Nature often creates survival tools through strength, speed, venom, camouflage, or armor. But the blue dragon uses a different path. It weaponizes what it eats. That is what makes it feel almost mythical. A tiny blue creature that eats danger and becomes dangerous itself. But we should be careful not to turn it into a monster. The blue dragon is not hunting humans. It is not an aggressive creature searching for people to sting. It is simply surviving in a difficult environment. The warning is simple. If you ever see one washed up on a beach, do not touch it. Its beauty can be misleading, because even after drifting on shore, it may still be capable of delivering a painful sting. This is one of the most important lessons of the blue dragon. In nature, beauty does not always mean harmless. Sometimes the most beautiful creatures carry the most surprising defenses. But the blue dragon's story is not only about danger. It is also about balance. Everything about its body seems designed for the surface world. Its colors help it vanish against light and water. Its floating lifestyle connects it to currents and wind. Its diet links it to other drifting creatures like the Portuguese man-o'-war. It is part of a strange floating community at the ocean surface, where life is carried by forces much larger than itself. Unlike a shark, it does not patrol the water with power. Unlike an octopus, it does not use arms to hide in caves or solve puzzles. Unlike a fish, it does not swim through the ocean with speed and control. The blue dragon drifts. It rides the ocean. It survives by being light, small, camouflaged, and surprisingly well-armed. That is a very different kind of strength. To humans, strength often looks like size, speed, or aggression. But the blue dragon reminds us that strength can also look like strategy. It can look like patience. It can look like adaptation so strange that we would never invent it ourselves. If you only saw this animal in a photo, you might think it was fragile. But in its own world, it is anything but weak. It has found a way to live at the edge of sea and sky, where it floats upside down, disguised by color, feeding on dangerous prey, and carrying stolen stinging cells like hidden armor. That is why this creature is such a powerful subject for a story. It changes how we think about beauty. The blue dragon is not beautiful because it is soft and harmless. It is beautiful because every part of it has meaning. The blue is camouflage. The silver is camouflage. The wing-like serrata are not just decoration. They help hold the stolen stinging cells. The floating body is not a weakness. It is part of its lifestyle. Even its tiny size is not simply a limitation. In the world of the ocean surface, being small and light helps it drift with the water. This creature teaches us that the most unusual designs in nature often come from very specific problems. How do you survive when you live on the open surface of the sea? How do you protect yourself when you cannot run fast? How do you avoid predators when you are tiny and exposed? How do you turn danger into defense? The blue dragon answers all of these questions with its body. It says, blend in, float, feed on the dangerous, and keep their weapons for yourself. That is not just strange. That is brilliant. And when we compare it to other creatures in our series, the blue dragon brings a completely different lesson. The axolotl showed us the mystery of regeneration. The goblin shark showed us that frightening faces can be perfect survival tools. The tardigrade showed us the power of endurance. The blobfish showed us not to judge a creature outside its natural environment. The mantis shrimp showed us that small animals can carry incredible force. And now, the blue dragon shows us that beauty can hide strategy, and that even the smallest creatures can survive by turning danger into protection. There is something almost poetic about that. A tiny animal drifting across a vast ocean, surrounded by waves, sunlight, predators, and venomous prey, yet somehow, it survives. It does not dominate the ocean. It does not command the waves. It simply understands its world in the only way evolution allows, through adaptation. And adaptation can be more powerful than size. The blue dragon may look like a fantasy creature, but it is a real reminder that Earth is still full of animals stranger than anything we could imagine. It is the kind of creature that makes people stop scrolling, stare for a second, and ask, how is that real? And that question is exactly why animals like this matter. They remind us that the natural world is not finished surprising us. There are still creatures floating at the surface, hiding in deep water, crawling under soil, and living in places we barely notice, each carrying a story of survival shaped by millions of years. The blue dragon story also carries a warning about curiosity. When humans see something beautiful, we often want to touch it, pick it up, or get closer. But the ocean does not follow our expectations. Some of its most stunning creatures should be admired from a safe distance. The blue dragon is one of them. Its bright colors may look inviting, but those colors belong to an animal that has learned to live with venomous prey. It is not an enemy, but it deserves respect. And maybe that is the message at the heart of this video. Nature's beauty is not always gentle, and nature's danger is not always ugly. Sometimes the two exist in the same tiny creature, floating silently on the waves. The blue dragon is beautiful, but not defenseless. Small, but not helpless. Delicate, but not weak. It is a living contradiction, a creature that looks like a dream but survives with borrowed weapons. So the next time you see a picture of a blue dragon sea slug, do not just think of it as a pretty animal. Think of it as a master of survival. Think of the way it floats upside down between sky and sea. Think of the way it disappears through color. Think of the way it eats venomous prey and stores their stinging cells for defense. Think of how something so small can carry such a powerful story. In the end, the blue dragon is not just a sea slug. It is a symbol of one of nature's greatest truths. Survival does not always belong to the biggest or the strongest. Sometimes, survival belongs to the creature that can turn danger into an advantage. And if a tiny blue sea slug can do that, then the ocean is even more mysterious than we think. If you found this creature fascinating, stay with us, because the world of strange animals is far from over. There are still creatures that look impossible, creatures with unbelievable abilities, and creatures whose stories can completely change the way we see nature. So subscribe to the channel, and let's continue exploring the weirdest, strangest, and most fascinating creatures on our planet.